because the Pentecostals were used by God in spite of themselves. In spite of themselves. In spite of their narrow-mindedness. In spite of their illiteracy. I've heard people sometimes interpret the Bible, and sometimes the misinterpretation is purely English. It's not even theological. The English is not working. So they read the Bible, they read a phrase, and the English construction, that if they read another version of the Bible would easily have cleared their confusion. But because most people who are illiterate learn the Bible from the King James, if you don't have enough education, please don't read King James. It will complicate your problem. Because King James English was written in 1600. English has improved or changed in meaning and expression from 1600 to where we are, 20 whatever. So if you don't have education, get something more modern. Because once you go into King James will throw you off. Even me, I don't read King James. I say, thank you, King James. You did very well. But you are too far. But I love King James because all my Bible memorization is in King James. So I said, I can't go too far from King James. So I now use New King James. Just wedging myself a little bit. Just New King James. Because King James is just out there. The these and the thous and all of that. Suffer the little children come to me. Now, if you don't get the English well, you can say, even God himself said, suffer the children. Suffer the children. Suffer the children, my brothers. The children must suffer to come to God. The children must suffer. And you can preach a whole message on how children must suffer to know God. Because King James says, suffer the children. And in the 1600s, suffer means allow. So if you are not educated much, please stay away from King James. But what I see is that the very illiterate and semi-illiterate preachers, they are King James people. And once in a while I chance upon their preaching, they are preaching King James, and I say, hey, you've collected matter, you've collected matter. Because this thing would hurt you. Well, because most of the people of our spiritual forebears, our spiritual fathers, those who had first encounters with God in the 1920s, in the 1915, 1916, 1912, here in Ghana from 1923, 1926. These people who had encounters with God, they knew the Bible a bit, but they were not theologically in depth. And some of them were stark illiterates. If you studied spiritual movements in Ghana, you would see that what is happening now in Ghana happened around the 1940s and the 1950s, when we had the African independent churches, which also was a genuine work of God, but most of the leaders were not well educated. And I don't want to mention anybody's name. And they ended up with very bizarre beliefs, syncretist, because they are not able to discern rightly from the scripture what has to be done. Now, the problem of most Pentecostals, therefore, is because the fathers God used were not educated, education is not important to God. And because the fathers God used were not trained in seminaries, then seminary training is not essential to God. It is a half-truth. It is a half-truth. Can God use people who have not been to seminary? Yes. But that is an extraordinary act of God when there is a need. But the normal is when God calls you, you must prepare to be used. It is so. When there is no hospital, there is no health facility, the medicine man who spits on grass and chews grass and puts what he has chewed out, in spite of whatever enzymes has been mixed with whatever here, and puts it on you and treats you, it's all you have. The medicine man is all you have. You are sick, they will say, go and boil this leaf, go and boil that, go and sit here. A mother, you give birth to the child, they say you have to use hot water to shape the head properly. So we say we are roasting the child's head. We are roasting the child's head. Oh, God of mercy. So children suffer. They will go through all of that. They roast the child's head. And we go through all kinds of things. But that is all you have. The medicine man. The local health attendant. And do people get well? Yes, God in his mercy used some of these people. We don't know how much poison they gave us to drink, but somehow, people seem to survive. At least the tribe didn't go extinct. People still survive. But are we then going to say, because those people were there and they helped our people in the past, now nobody should go to medical school? So somebody wants to be a doctor, so go and learn from the herbalist. No. If you want to be a doctor, you go to an approved medical school, study an approved curriculum, and come out with an approved and regulated way of helping people. If somebody wants to be a lawyer, can we just say, just use your mind, common sense, you go and advise people and solve their cases? There are people who used to do that. But now, if you want to solve people's cases, you have to go to an approved school, study an approved curriculum, and function in a regulated environment. If somebody wants to dispense of medicine, he can't just go and be plucking leaves to give to people. We don't know the dosage, we don't know all of that. If you want to study how to give medicine to people, you go to pharmacy school, an approved curriculum, an approved system, and come out and work in a regulated environment. And it is the same for every vocation in the world. You want to be a teacher? You don't just get up to teach. If there's nobody, yes, there are people, teachers, and so on. But at a certain point, you have to go and study education, study child psychology, study everything about education, work in an approved environment, regulated, approved, for you to be a benefit. Then it comes to pastors. We say that ours is spirit work. Ours is, yes, it's spirit work. So we must learn the spirit book. Learn the spirit book. Learn the spirit courses. Study the history of the church. Study the development of theology. Study why we believe what we believe and why we say what we say. And work in a regulated environment, spiritually regulated, so we can be of the greatest benefit. My warning to the current Pentecostal charismatic movement, that if we continue as we have done, within 20 years, we will collapse Christianity all over Africa. Now we are booming, but I see an imminent collapse because there is a huge confidence gap between what we promise and what we deliver. We are promising to be what we are not, And we are teaching things that do not make for biblical, theological reasoning and logic. And pretty soon, it will catch up on us. For the next generation of pastors, although God used your fathers in spite of their limitations, you would have to be trained differently. The days of God's called you from the street, you are in the pulpit the next morning, is over. If every profession requires at least 4 years of proper regulated study, then I will suggest that every pastor in the coming generation needs a minimum of 4-year theological seminary training. Everyone. Somebody say, but Pastor, what about those who did not go to school? Thank God there is F-Cube in Ghana. Free, universal, basic, free, compulsory, universal, basic education. So the times when children didn't go to school is almost past. And then there is free SHS. And now they say to go to university. So let's hope wherever they are taking it. But what I'm saying is, it is almost rare to find a Ghanaian who has not been touched by education. In this generation, not in the previous generation, in this generation. So, at the onset, everybody in this generation is better off than their parents' or grandparents' generation. Everybody. All these girls here, if you go back 1 generation, 2 generations, illiteracy. Either their parents are illiterate or grandparents are illiterate. How many of you here, your parents never went to school? Okay. Don't feel shy. Okay, you see that. How many of you, your parents went to school, but your grandparents didn't go to school? Almost everybody. Because in most Ghanaian societies, when you go back 4 generations, we're all in the bush. All of us, we are bush people.
Thank you for watching this video. We believe you have been touched by this message. If you have any comments on this video, kindly leave it in the comment section. If you have any inquiries or testimonies, you can also leave it in the comment section. If you've not subscribed to this channel yet, kindly do so and turn on your notification bell. And if you enjoyed today's message, kindly like and share with others. Thank you and see you in the next video.
Jesus,